In response to my recent video, are we killing our four-wheel driving future? I wanted to give a response because there was lots of really good comments made. There was a lot of very influential four-wheel drivers commenting on that piece of content. And I thought, you know what, I need to come back from what was relatively a negative video with something positive. What can we as individuals do in response to and helping make our four-wheel driving future a better place and something that's going to be here for our grandkids? And the other thing is I wanted to respond to a few of the comments that were repeated over and over again, and obviously on a lot of people's hearts. So I wanted to just give my thoughts around those comments. That's what we're going to cover off in this video. Now, if you're a person that loves the YouTube shorts and really short, quick, to the point type of videos, this one is not for you. No one is perfect, least of all me. I make mistakes regularly. I'm quite good at it, actually. I don't know about you, but I suspect you're probably somewhat similar. So why do I say that? Well, you see, I don't think any one of us has the total solution to this problem that we're facing, and that is the future of four-wheel driving and the future access to the places that we go four-wheel driving. But I think as a collective, all of us together, having an attitude of being part of the solution, not part of the problem, if we have that and we collaborate together, I think then we can have one voice that can be loud and we can have a really good chance of actually making a difference for our future. And so I want this place, this video, to be a place of dialogue. I want it to be a place where you put your ideas forward, put them in the comments down below. And they may be great ideas. You may have the idea that absolutely unlocks this whole problem for the rest of us. I don't know, but if we don't converse sensibly and with respect for one another, we will never know, because not one of us has the total solution in and of ourselves. And I certainly don't. But I'm a voice, I'm having a go, and I'm trying to get that conversation started. All right, enough of that. Let's get into some of the solutions, some of the things that we can do that I think may be part of the solution. This conversation isn't new. It's been going on for years. And there's been many voices with a great deal more influence than me who have been shouting and speaking and trying to be part of the solution. And I just want to shout out some of the voices that I've seen. But look, I know that the little list I'm going to give you here is so minuscule in comparison to the voices that have been speaking out that you may know of. So what I want you to do is tag them in the comments so they can be part of this conversation, just at and their channel name or their name or whatever, so they will then see this video and they can be part of it, and you can help bring that collective voice together. So some of the people I've seen speaking these sorts of messages is Pat Callanan, Ruthie, we've got Rick O'Brien from Australia Rediscovered, Danny Mon, Robert Pepper, Simon Christie from 4-Wheel Drive TV, and Stephen Clay from Australian 4x4 Adventures. They're just some of the guys I've seen who are trying to be the right example, who are trying to do the right thing within the 4-wheel drive community and speak a message to our future. So tag them in the comments down below. Whatever the answer to this problem is, it's going to come down to having respect for other people and their voices. This is a human problem. It's not a machine problem. It's not a problem that we have with four-wheel drives as a machine. It's a problem we have with the people who operate the machines, the people who may be land managers or whatever. Whatever dialogue you're in with a given person, have that dialogue with respect. Getting up in someone's face going, you effing this, you effing that, you did this, you effing that, and defining the person by the words you use is never going to get the solution that you want. Let's face it, none of us likes being told we're an effing idiot. None of us. So if you do that to someone, they're not going to listen to you. But if you approach them with an attitude of respect and just go, hey man, did you know that leaving the rubbish over there is going to close these tracks off? Hey mate, I don't know if you know this, but we've seen tracks get closed when people get in there and start doing big burnouts and wheel spins all through the trails and digging the trails up, we're seeing those tracks get closed. If you want to keep having access to this place, do you think you could do that in a more appropriate place like private property? That's a respectful conversation. Now, of course, we all know that there's still people out there that are just going to go F you and they don't give a stuff. They're totally selfish, they're totally self-absorbed, and the world totally revolves around their 1 cent brain. We can only do what we can do. But if we have respect for people, we have a far better chance of seeing this problem get resolved. Let me tell you a story I had just the other day with some young fellas up at Rainbow Beach or Double Island Point. Many of you would know exactly where I'm talking about. You've been there. It's a very popular beach here in Australia on the East Coast. Now, these young fellas in 2 vehicles rolled up in front of us and they set up camp down there on the beach, and they were just 5 or 6 mates having a great day out. Now, they were young fellas, so they had some music going. But here's the cool thing. They didn't have it going that it was overbearing and, you know, just obnoxious. You could definitely hear it, but it wasn't. It was appropriate enough, you know. And they weren't being obnoxious to the rest of the people around. They were just being young people doing what young people do. They parked up, they were playing cards, they went for a swim, they went for a surf, they set up their awnings, they had lunch, they had a great time. Good on them. I encourage that. And they were packing up and they started to move out. One vehicle drove off and the second vehicle drove off, and I could see that there was a plastic bag that I suspect had fallen out of the door of the car or had blown in under the car whilst they were having their picnic. Anyway, these young fellas start to drive off and I just walked down the beach with my towel, you know, in my singlet. They didn't know who I was, I don't think. And I just went up to them and with respect, like, these guys are young enough to be my sons, you know. With respect, I said, hey fellas, do you want me to grab the rubbish that you left over there? And they're like, what rubbish? I'm like, there's a plastic bag over there where you guys were just camped. And they're like, oh no, yeah, no, we'll grab that, mate. And the passenger jumped out of the car, ran over, grabbed the bag, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, dude, don't have to apologise to me. We're just trying to make sure that this place stays open so we can all keep coming here and having a good time. And he's like, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, go on guys, go and have a good day. Now that was a really respectful conversation, I believe anyway. It was a positive outcome. The place was cleaned up and I was going to clean it up anyway, okay? I think it was a genuine mistake on their part. I don't think they came there with the intention of leaving rubbish. And that beach, for the most part, is actually surprisingly clean. So when you have your interactions, don't be that guy who comes down the beach, you effing this and that, and going on like a pork chop. No respect. They're not going to listen to you. I wouldn't listen to you. Do it with respect and we can really make a difference. So here's what you can do. You're out on the trails and you see somebody do something really good. You see a good drive. You know, one of the girls, for example, she's out there and she just absolutely nails the drive and drives it really well. Good throttle control, good line positioning, no excessive wheel spin, just the whole thing just comes off, and it's a really good technical line that she's driven. Fantastic. So encourage that, because what's going to happen is the guy that comes behind, he's going to be like, well, I want that bit of praise. I want to be spoken to that way. I want the compliment, and that'll all be subconscious. But we all love being encouraged. So he's going to then try and drive the way he saw the previous driver do it. So that's one way you can make a difference, is be positive. Encourage the behaviour you want to see. If you're seeing an influencer out there on a page, on a channel, respectfully make a comment to let them know that what they're doing is not appreciated by you. And if they don't listen, leave their channel, stop watching the content. If you're going to support them by watching their content and commenting and being part of their community and their behaviour is not acceptable, you're part of the problem. And that's not so cool. So although you may enjoy their content at a certain level, you may have to make the decision to not watch their content because their values don't align with the future of four-wheel driving. All right, guys, let's talk about your girls, eh? Yeah, come on. Now we're getting into the spicy stuff. Nah, look, this is something Mrs. Mad Matt's really passionate about, and to be honest, I totally support her in this point, and that is the girls going to the loo. Now, most girls will tend to use toilet paper when they go to the bathroom, especially when they're going for wheeze. I think as a general rule, the four-wheel drive community knows that when you go for a poo, you need to dig a hole and bury your waste, okay? I think that's a fairly common understood principle, but what about when you're doing a wee? Well, if you're a lady that likes to use a little bit of toilet paper, which is fair enough, okay? There's a lot of ladies don't actually know what to do with the toilet paper afterwards. And so they leave it behind the tree or behind the bush that they've used for a bit of privacy, and that's fair enough too. Why shouldn't they have some privacy when they're out camping? And what do you do with that bit of toilet paper? Well, Mrs. Mad Matt does two things. Primarily, she takes has a little plastic bag, like a little shopping bag or something like that, under the front seat of the car, and she just puts it in there. At the end of the day, she'll either burn the paper on the fire or she'll throw it in a suitable rubbish bin at a suitable point. But she doesn't leave it behind the tree. And that's the important thing. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you've got a girlfriend and you guys are, your girlfriend's never been camping and she's new to the whole scene because she's just met you, has just started hanging out. Guys, it's your responsibility to educate her on that, okay? Have the balls to man up and say, hey, when we go camping, this is how we go to the toilet. This is what we do with our rubbish. This is what we do when you go for a wee. This is how you can deal with your toilet paper. Your girlfriend, I don't believe there's many people out there that intentionally want to do the wrong thing and wreck the place. But if they don't know how to go to the bathroom in the bush, then they're kind of embarrassed to come and talk to people about how to do it, and they may not even think that they have to. So it's your responsibility to educate your ladies if they don't already know it. Now, I know that the vast majority of ladies already get this right, but how many times do we go to a campsite and there's toilet paper all over there hidden behind the given tree, and it looks a mess? So let's address the elephant in the room. Let's talk about me. No, let's talk about influencers. I'm an influencer. That's why I say that. We do this full time. This is our job. It's our business, is being an influencer. And so that takes on many different facets. We do work for commercial customers where we literally provide a piece of content for them, for their website and their social media. And it'll be a piece of content that is all about giving information about the product. It doesn't involve my opinion. The other type of content we can do is content that gives our opinion, and it's a review type of video. Now, we do those sorts of pieces of content amongst other things so that we can earn an income, because like you, we love eating. You can see that, okay? And that's, in this modern world, that is a legitimate way to make an income, is by doing what we do. But here's the frustration I think many of you see, is that, and hence the comments, influencers are like a bane on society. We don't need them, they're rubbish and all of this. I understand where those comments come from. And it's because a lot of influencers aren't sincere. Now, for me, the way I approach my work is I want to provide content that helps you, the viewer, make good purchasing decisions so that you're buying the product that suits your need. That's how I think about it. And yes, I may get paid to give that opinion or give that thought through, but I won't want the companies to tell me what I'm going to think. If I don't like it, I want to be able to say it, or we don't release the video. That's sort of how it works. If I do like things, well, then I talk about that. I try to keep a very balanced, helpful opinion and viewpoint brought to you, the viewer. And I try to, by law, I have to disclose any commercial relationship there, so that you know that the company has a commercial arrangement. It might be simply barter, it might actually be cash changing hands. But even if cash changes hands, I do my utmost to give you honest opinion, okay? That's how I approach it, and I know that many other influencers are doing the same thing. They're trying to give you honest opinion, but there are some out there that don't do that, and we all know that, and I think we've all got pretty good BS detectors that can tell when an influencer is not being authentic. So I've been doing this for about 10 years, and I've noticed that companies are starting to understand how to use influencers in a better way, and that's a good thing. So for example, I work with Maxxis Tyres here in Australia, and they've said to me on a number of occasions that they don't want me to be insincere. They want my honest opinions. If I don't like something in a review, they want me to talk about that and explain that to you, the audience. And that's coming from the company. I like that. And you can go and watch some of my Max's content on the channel and you'll see I'm being authentic in those videos. I think that many companies, especially the ones that derive their income purely from the four-wheel drive scene, I think it's almost incumbent upon them to be part of securing the future of four-wheel driving. Let's face it, they won't have a business if there is no people going four-wheel driving. So I actually, generally speaking, I'm a little bit disappointed that there's a lot of companies that aren't, to my knowledge, really sowing into the four-wheel drive community and the future of it. And I'd like to see a lot of companies step up to that. Now, there are some companies that are out there purely for the mighty dollar. We all know that. And look, that's the way the world operates. You know, we operate on the dollar. We operate on, you know, getting more stuff for me. And we tend to forget everybody else. But, you know, is that the best way for us to live our lives? I don't think so. I think a life lived outwards to other people actually brings you greater joy, satisfaction and purpose than a life that's lived inwards and all about you. And that goes right through to the way a company is run, because a company is run by people. So there's some companies that have approached me and said, Matt, we'd love you to do some work for us. And because I don't hold values that align with their values, I've said to them, no, I actually won't work with you guys because of this reason. And they get a bit upset and a bit, you know, ticked off with me. And some of these companies are big companies, like they can definitely do benefit to my business. But for me personally, I would prefer to be able to sleep well at night and hold my head high and standing by the values that I hold dear. So give consideration to a company that you're looking to purchase a product from and make the decision, does it stand with values that you're happy with? If you believe that the company's missing the mark, respectfully send them an email, go into the store and chat to the manager and respectfully have a conversation about where your concerns lie. And if they're working with an influencer that again you don't believe is doing the right thing, well, shoot them an email to the company and just say, hey guys, did you know that this influencer who represents you is doing this action? And in my opinion, that doesn't represent the future of the four-wheel driving community or whatever it might be. Use your words, but use respect, and then your voice will be heard. So let's talk about four-wheel drive clubs and four-wheel drive associations. Now, across the globe, there's lots of different variants and lots of different things going on in different countries, but they all have the same basic concept. And I'm a big fan of the four-wheel drive club as a concept. It's where I learnt to four-wheel drive, and it really did help form and shape the way I think about the bush, the way I go camping, the way I go four-wheel driving, and it taught me a lot. So I'm a big fan of the four-wheel drive club. But nowadays in the modern world, they're kind of declining because we have online clubs. You know, you can be a member of a Facebook page and next thing you're going out four-wheel driving with those people. And look, there's a lot of negatives to that because you don't know who's teaching you how to four-wheel drive. There's no accountability there. It's just some bloke who started a Facebook page. He got a bunch of followers. He's leading a trip. And look, he might know his stuff. Absolutely. He might not. He might not. And there's certainly some concerns around that, and that's where a four-wheel drive club and an association that might represent a number of clubs has a really good place. And I'm a big fan as well of four-wheel drive training, face-to-face training, not the sort of training I do which is online, but face-to-face training. Massive fan of that. And if you're watching this video and you haven't done that, go and get some face-to-face training. And I don't care how experienced you are. I went and did that after about 25 years of four-wheel driving and teaching four-wheel driving and doing all sorts of stuff like that. I actually went and got my certification as an advanced four-wheel driver from Vic Widman and his training organisation because I wanted to be accountable. I wanted to be able to say to you guys, I'm trained. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the modern world though, it is different. And it's not going to change. We're not going to lose Facebook groups. We're not going to lose these online platforms and these online clubs, if you will. So I would like to suggest that, firstly, as an individual, consider joining a four-wheel drive club in your area. And then I'd also like to propose an idea, that is where the four-wheel drive associations, which traditionally represent a group of four-wheel drive clubs, and they'll represent those clubs to land managers, they'll represent them and give them four-wheel drive training, they'll provide a lot of really good services like insurance, all sorts of cool stuff. That's really good stuff that they do, but they only do it for their members, which are the four-wheel drive club. So if you're not in a four-wheel drive club, you're not really represented. Saying that, you may get benefits from it because they may, you know, say we want to have access to a given area and they fight for that with the land managers and they get access. Sometimes their clubs get access and you and I, or you as an individual member, may not get access to that. So I would actually like to put a challenge out there to the four-wheel drive clubs and to the four-wheel drive associations across the globe. Would you consider looking at your constitutions and tweaking so that a Facebook group, an online group, could actually form some form of club that can sit in underneath your authority structure, so that basically the online community can be part of your real world community? I think there could be some benefits there. I don't know exactly how that would work, and it would take somebody with some balls to actually step up and make that happen. But wouldn't it be great if we could then have the online community starting to get the training, get the access, bring their voice to your campaigns and your lobbying efforts, because we have that ability to connect. Anyway, it's just an idea I have. I do know that here in Australia there's an organisation called ARMA, and they have individual membership available. And I think that's a really good, innovative idea, and I'd like to see more of that, because the future of a traditional club is going to slowly decline. How are we going to keep our four-wheel driving future open? Anyway, something to think about. Let's talk about some of the comments that commonly came up in response to the previous video. Now, I've addressed a few of those indirectly in the previous part of this video, so we won't worry about those, but one of the comments that came up regularly was, Matt, you're preaching to the converted. I know that. I know that most of you people who are this far into this video are well and truly hearing and saying, go Matt, preach it, brother, preach it. Okay, I do know that. Guys, you know, in response to that comment, I don't know what I can do. I'm as old as I am. I'm not a young fella preaching a wise man's message. I'm an older guy, hopefully preaching a little bit of a wise man's message. And, you know, it is what it is. The comment goes, you know, that I'm not going to reach that audience. The young people aren't going to listen. I get it, but you know what? Here's the encouraging thing. A lot of young people did listen. They have listened. They've written comments. I'm a young person and thanks for your message. I totally agree. I learned something. That was a new perspective. I hadn't thought about that before. It means that I've made a little bit of a difference. It's a little bit like that old story of the young boy who's down there on the beach and he's picking up turtles and he's taking them down to the shore, and there's thousands of turtles there, and the old man comes up to him and says, what are you doing? You're never going to make a difference to all of these turtles. And the young boy goes, yeah, well, I made a difference to that one. That's my attitude. I'm going to be able to, when I'm an old man, I'm going to be able, well, maybe I already am, I'm getting there anyway. You know, I'm going to be able to say to my grandkids, and I can already say it to my two boys, I'm doing what I can do to make sure you guys can go camping and four-wheel driving into the future. I'm doing what I can do, and it is what it is. I'm doing my best. What are you doing to do your best? Or are you just commenting on videos and making yourself feel good in the moment and then moving on and making no difference to the world whatsoever? Okay, there's a challenge there. I know it's a little bit in your face, but it's a good question to ask yourself. What are you doing? How are you making a difference and being part of the solution to the problem that we have in our four-wheel driving community? Anyway, that's just a little bit of in your face, but that's my thoughts on that question. So there's a comment that's made, and every time I see it, I just have to shake my head, and it's this. Oh, it's all those blokes on big tyres and big trucks that are destroying the bush. Seriously? Seriously? It's those trucks that are destroying the bush. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So you have a vehicle that is super capable. It's on big tyres, it's got big suspension articulation and all of that, it's got diff locks, and it can traverse the terrain really easily. But it's more than the actual vehicles. Remember at the front of the video I said, let's not attack the machines, let's talk about the people. It comes down to this. This is what I think goes on for the majority of the time, is you have drivers who don't actually have the skills to operate the vehicle. And that doesn't matter what vehicle they're driving. Oftentimes, unfortunately, I do see guys who don't have the skills driving highly modified four-wheel drives. If you want to make a good four-wheel driver, you put the driver, when they're inexperienced, in a stock vehicle. And that's going to teach them a number of things. They're going to learn how to pick their lines. They're going to learn about throttle control. They're going to learn about driving in the terrain to get themselves through. You then put that driver into a more built vehicle and they're going to be a better driver. If you see a competent four-wheel driver using a big rig properly out on the trail, most of the time they'll leave nothing but tyre tracks, and they'll be driving terrain that is nigh on unwalkable. So this idea that big trucks are destroying the bush, I just laugh at it. It's not the case. It's the drivers of those vehicles driving those vehicles inappropriately that is the problem. And it doesn't matter what vehicle you've got, if you've got a driver that drives inappropriately in that vehicle can do damage. Enough of that. All right, next point. Now, we all enjoy our four-wheel driving for different reasons. Some of us, we just want to take the kayak out, but where we like to go is up some four-wheel drive track, and that's why we've got a four-wheel drive. Others of us are like me. You enjoy everything. You want to go touring, you want to do hardcore rock crawling, you want to do some trails, you want to do a bit of racing. It's all legitimate. And now the next point I want to make is kind of in response to a general feeling that seems to come in the four-wheel drive community of exclusivity, where whatever an individual does, that's really where it's at. And that's fair enough, I can understand that because that's what they enjoy about the four-wheel driving. But there needs to be a broader respect for other users and how they use the bush and how they enjoy their four-wheel driving. So let's think about it like this. There's an individual, they're into their touring, they love doing long distance overland trips, going here, going there, and that's their thing. They don't really do hardcore four-wheel driving, they're not into, they don't even really need any more than an all-terrain tyre, they don't need diff locks or anything like that, but they need a four-wheel drive because that gets them out into the environment that they enjoy. And then they see me out there on a trail with my Bandera, doing big wheel lifts and climbing rocks and getting into it and all of that, expressing myself in that way. And their comment might be something along the lines of, "You're just destroying the bush, Matthew." That's the comments I'm talking about, because I don't think that that's giving respect to my way of expressing myself in the four-wheel driving space. But the key point, and I've made this across both videos, is this. When I'm expressing myself, I need to do it in a way that is in the right place at the right time. Okay, so if I'm doing rock crawling and all of that, in a place where I'm allowed to do that, not in a place where I'm not allowed to do that. It's just like doing a burnout in your V8 car. The cops don't like you doing it on the public roads, so do it on your back paddock or on a drag strip or something like that, or a skid pan. Time and a place, that's the key thing. And show respect for other people and the way they express themselves. And I think that within all of that, we've got to cut each other a bit of slack. We've got to cut a bit of grace to one another in all of this. But it's through that attitude of having respect for one another, having a respect for those that disagree with us, that I think we have a chance of keeping our four-wheel driving and having a future for our kids, our grandkids, and our great-great-great-great-grandkids. All right, guys, look, I hope that's fired you up. I hope you feel like you can do something now. You've got some ideas. Put in the comments down below your ideas, though. We want to have the conversation. All right, guys, I'm Mad Matt. Stay safe on the trails.